Some well-known retail giants suffer record shrinkage due to progressive policies. Mayor Kenny responds to the press today with some of that. And Dom, Port Richmond, my stomping ground. It seems like it's turning into a war zone. We'll get into that. That's all this week in KRASNERLAND. Everybody to KRASNERLAND, our weekly foray into the crime here in Philadelphia that we mostly attribute to our District Attorney Larry Krasner, progressive DA extraordinaire, George Soros crony. But Dom, this seems something we need to address. First off, a huge criminal justice story here in Philadelphia. That's the shooting of Eddie Irizarry. Today there's a press conference on that. Just your initial thoughts of what happened there, and I'll play a little bit of that sound as well.
Yeah. My initial thoughts, I think, are pretty similar to yours. Again, I can't support what the cop did in total here in the shooting. Probably, you brought up a good fact. Shooting through the glass is a rare type of thing, and we don't know if the other cop yelled weapon. The point I made is this. Looking at this, potentially firing this cop, maybe he shouldn't be a cop, but to say this is the ill will of police in a high crime, one of the highest, Kensington, imaginable, is where this is headed. It also, Dan, is exacerbated by Daniel Outlaw, who gave out the false information rather than waiting on this. And when the headlines say this cop was insubordinate, he wasn't insubordinate in any kind of following orders thing, as much as the official account of this, I guess, on advice of attorney. So he's suspended, will be fired in 30 days. And I think given the totality of it, I'm okay. I just asked, you had a problem with Kenny not answering questions today. He could have said, matter under investigation, but in a broader sense, what cops face, taken some questions about all these aspects of it. Instead of blowing it off, it looked like large part, he's checked out, yet still getting a check.
Yeah, as you can see on the screen right now is the horrific video. And I bring this to the table, Dom, because we here on KRASNERLAND, if you're not aware, we're very, very pro-police. But when something like this happens, I do think it's important to take a second and recognize when something's way out of the ordinary here. And this Eddie Irizarry situation does indeed seem to be that way. Dom, you mentioned Mayor Kenny storming out of the press conference today angrily. I do have that footage. You want to hear what he had to say?
Oh, sure.
There?
Absolutely.
All right. Screwing up over here. There we go.
What are your relax. During your last year in office, yes. Over these 8 years or 7.5 years, how would you characterize the relationship between the police department and the community?
I think it's better. I think we went through some really rocky times during the George Floyd murder and the civil unrest that followed, and then after Walter Wallace was killed. But I do think in general the community supports the police. The police are supportive of the community, and circumstances like this do set us back. But I think that we were able to recover and move forward, and the next mayor will continue to make progress.
Okay, Mayor, how do you react to that video that was released?
I can't. I just told you I can't react to it. It's an ongoing investigation, and no matter how many times you ask me or how many different ways you ask me, I can't comment on it because it's a ongoing investigation. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, and on the yeah.
Your thoughts, Tom?
Again, I'm in a camp here, and I want to be clear about it. It's Chef Cole and thoughts on the video. I don't think he can answer that, Dan. He'd have to pivot. I would advise him, though, say, I can't answer on that. Let's hear other questions and the bigger picture of this. That's what I would do. But as far as if he says, well, the cop shouldn't have shot him, that's inflammatory. Or if he says, well, I think the cop was within his rights, and he really can't do, it's not an excuse on that one, except you got to stay there and take some more questions on these other issues related to it.
Yeah, and that's where I'm annoyed, because you can see the annoyance in Mayor Kenny's face that he even has to answer questions about the situation. But dude, you're the mayor of Philadelphia. I know you've clearly stated that you don't want to be the mayor, but when you have a situation like this, it's important to at least do some, politicking in front of the press and answer some questions.
Well, it's shocking how little these people ever answer any kind of questions in public office. And Outlaw doesn't answer them. Krasner doesn't really answer it. He goes on the attack, and I'm just waiting for him to pounce on this. Any moment now, he will be going after this cop forever.
So one thing that, I think they would answer to, the progressives here in Philadelphia is where we're seeing massive shrinkage. Dick's Sporting Goods, Foot Locker, all these businesses. And Charles Payne specifically said Philadelphia as one of the main, cities that is suffering from this. So, Dom, you often talk about the theory, if these businesses were to, grow a backbone and stand up to the progressives, maybe we'd see some change.
Well, right. It's one of two things, Dan. Either they don't have the leverage and they know it. And a guy like Krasner, I think you have limited leverage, or they're afraid of the woke component. So they keep on belly aching, dancing around, but they won't take any action. Wawa's a prime example. Wawa's still beloved. They closed up any number of stores in the downtown Philadelphia area. They're obviously moving more toward the suburbs. Well, don't complain about it. Don't say weird stuff. Just shut up and move on. Or say, we're not going to do your 10 days of July 4th event, whatever it is. We're taking millions of dollars away. They have leverage. They're scared to death because they're thinking Larry Krasner still will not budge that. Now, if they say we're taking all jobs, all enterprise out of Philadelphia, even Chestnut Hill, with that, I think they have a store, something like that, that would be a massive number. But they're scared of this guy. It comes back to one guy again. All those candidates for mayor, when I interviewed them, we did our big event with them. They're scared of him too. They don't know what to do with him.
And why is it Larry Krasner's fault, Dom? It's because when he first got elected, he had that revolutionary memo that up to $500, we're going to change the prosecution style. That spread its way through anybody who wanted to take advantage of that. And now people are just going in willy-nilly, walking out with products. And it's legitimately due to Larry Krasner. And so what are businesses supposed to do, Dom? Do they hire security guards to, as Charles Payne put it, break arms? No, you can't do that because then it's a liability. Do you call the police? No, the police can't do anything about it because it's not against the law. They're not going to prosecute it. So it's just up to the businesses themselves to deal with the loss.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. How much of a loss? There's a story in the paper today of a cycle company guy. That's the California one. Yeah, where they came in and ravaged a cycle company, dirt bikes, things of that nature. They steal a car, right? They're driving around with a stolen car because of driving equity. They don't get caught. They bash it. They back it in at high speed into his garage door, which he needs to get the dirt bikes out.
Yeah. Slow down real quick, Don, because I got that video. I want to play that here in a second. Right here is just an example of Nordstrom, Los Angeles.
Yeah, this is Nordstrom, Los Angeles, which is even more. I'm not in the camp, though, that wants to go down this path because it's too easy, that these are organized rings. Occasionally, there are. Here in Philadelphia, it's to the point you brought in the beginning. It's just people knowing they can steal and nothing's going to happen. That's the bottom line. Yeah.
Here's what you were referencing, Don.
Yeah. From Channel 6.
And this is just shocking. I mean, when you watch the video in a moment, it's just crazy to see the lengths that people are going to try to get inside. And Philadelphia Cycle Center here on Castro Avenue has an extensive surveillance system in place, dozens of cameras. And if you look behind me, this is what they now have to do to make sure that thieves don't get in. They have a semi parked here with metal crates and containers blocking off those garage doors that those suspects rammed into that you'll see in this video.
I just got a call from the owner of Cycle City on Castro Ave. He said that there's 2 vehicles that are circling his store right now.
They just keep coming back.
A brazen dirt bike heist and takedown in Philadelphia, all captured on camera.
We've had 5 burglaries over the last 10 days.
5
and it's
over
adding
10
up
days.
to over $100,000 worth of damages and stolen vehicles. And unfortunately, there's no end in sight.
Vince Sanginetti, owner of Philadelphia Cycle Center in Port Richmond, says they're being overrun by thieves bold enough to reportedly steal a car and use it to ram the shop's garage doors in just to make entry. This all happened early Sunday morning. Once inside, 3 suspects are seen on surveillance video trying to steal a row of dirt bikes before getting frustrated and throwing them to the ground. Moments later, the suspects are caught by police in the garage. One suspect puts his hands up while another leads an officer on a chase, jumping on the hood of cars and out the garage door. That guy got away, but police were able to arrest 2 of the suspects.
I think the police are doing everything they can. They're frustrated by it.
19-year-old Makari Patterson was one of the suspects arrested. The other was a 17-year-old. Both remain behind bars, facing criminal conspiracy, burglary, and other charges for Sunday's crime.
They weren't charged with the 5. They were only charged with the 1. You can clearly see on all the video that I have of them, it is the same guys.
There we go,
And back-
too. You know what? We're not charging with the 5 cases of doing this. It's the same guys. I blame the police department, Dan. Some of it comes from Daniel Outlaw. Why rock the boat? Some of these cops are not doing their job because they feel it's useless. They can't really have that attitude. She's going to be out of here at some point, hopefully. We got a call, email, and he might be on tomorrow's show, from a guy who runs a shop in Center City, Philadelphia. And he talked about the guy breaking into his shop. And clearly you can see him trying to lock, trying to get it. Police come along and write it up as vandalism. It's not vandalism. It's robbery.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is I'm as pro-cop as anybody. But I'm not pro-cop when you're going in the tank, because you are the last refuge. Daniel Outlaw's not Krasner, Kenny. It's the cops that we need. They have to continue to enforce the law. And I really don't want to hear, well, I'm tired of it doing it. Then you know what? You got to get another job, because you got to outlast this. What are we supposed to do, you ask? Suppose the guy lie in wait there with a gun. He'd be perfectly within, whatever happens, and he's perfectly within his rights to me. But he knows if you do that, Larry Krasner is coming after you.
Yeah. And Dom, it's crazy. Sorry, I got a little distracted there because I just looked at my phone, and as we speak, Maisie says there's lots of helicopter activity above our house in Port Richmond right now. So it's like I called it a war zone when we were leading off.
Well, I don't know if they finally caught up with the Borowskis. Maybe Maisie has cooked the books one time too many there, Maisie.
But Dom, it's like the crime. And so that last thing we just played was in Port Richmond, a couple blocks away, the Cycle Center. And I bring a couple Port Richmond stories to the table today because they're ones that are hyper local to me, but it's just an example of living in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
If you pick an individual neighborhood, you can probably get 4 to 5 stories per week out of that single neighborhood at this point because of what Krasner's done to the city.
Without a doubt. And again, it's Krasner. Let's put a new person up. It's not just there's a foursome here. Let's not forget Isaiah Thomas. I know he seems like the lightweight. That clown in city council is the one that got driving equity passed. He pushed it through. He is the 4th, Dan, and he's jockeying for position to be number 3. He's responsible. They can steal a car, smash into it. Nothing happens with Krasner, but under driving equity, police are not stopping him unless they put a sign up saying stolen car.
Yep. And with the driving equity law, people recognize, again, similar to the retail theft, that if you come to Philadelphia, you can probably get away with it. So how about a 19-year-old in Bucks County coming again to my neighborhood right in Port Richmond, Dom?
Exactly.
John.
Yeah.
Rick, Shari, this is where it all happened. The man was hit and killed just behind me. Those 2 cars went speeding off in that direction, leaving him to die in the street. But I want to show you something here. There is a memorial. This is not actually for the victim in last night's hit and run. This is for another pedestrian who was hit and killed here just last year. Surveillance video captured the moment a blue Dodge Charger sped down Castor Avenue. 6 seconds later, you see a white Charger come into view as well. Police say the 2 were leaving the scene of a deadly crash, the result of street racing.
That pedestrian that was struck by the blue Dodge Charger was hit while that vehicle was traveling at a very, very high rate of speed.
Officers on patrol in Port Richmond saw it happen, but there was nothing they could do for the man. He was killed right there in the road.
I thought it was my friend, so I came around and I seen him. And I was like, that's Shorty. Everybody knew him by Shorty.
Jim Adams saw the aftermath of the deadly crash. He says the intersection of Aramingo and Castor Avenues is dangerous. The 6ABC data team uncovered 11 crashes involving pedestrians within 100 feet of this intersection in the past 10 years.
I wonder how much better that would get if we, actually enforce driving laws here in Philadelphia, Dom.
Well, it's driving laws. Then it's these, impromptu, we take over the streets, car races. And they're attracted. They're coming here to Philadelphia to participate in this. And again, if this had happened in Bucks County, where you have a real DA, this guy would go to jail for a long, long time.
And something like that, Shorty walking across the street at night, getting hit by a car, that's incredibly tragic. But like something like a 60-year-old driving through, so Northern Liberties, if you're unfamiliar with Philadelphia, is adjacent to Fishtown, Port Richmond, Kensington kind of area. And this seems like maybe a father from Center City or the suburbs or something was visiting his kid in Northern Liberties, and Dom, this happened. It's like, these are the people that should be coming into the city and safely enjoying the city, not people, 19-year-olds from Bucks County who want to drag race. Take a watch.
From the man's wife?
Yes, that's right. His wife is heartbroken. She was in tears telling me about her husband. His name is Peter Chan, and she says that he only purchased that car a few months ago that was at the center of this deadly carjacking. Philadelphia police say this is the 2023 Toyota SUV at the center of the deadly carjacking in Northern Liberties Thursday night. The victim's wife is receiving support from her Chinatown neighbors. She was not ready to show her face, but wanted to share her account with community leader Dan Tao translating the interview.
They live in Philadelphia for about 10 years, and her husband is very hardworking and very honest, and many people in the community know about them. Yeah.
She says her husband, Peter Chan, was helping her practice driving when they stopped in the area of 3rd and Cambridge Streets. She stepped away for a few minutes, and by the time she returned, their car was gone and her husband was on the ground severely injured.
When she returned, she did not see the vehicle where her husband dropped her off. Basically, her husband already lying on the ground. And so they have napkins, try to help him.
Police say 2 masked men pulled up in a motorcycle or dirt bike and assaulted the 60-year-old before taking off in the Toyota Highlander. Early this morning, we saw police recovering the stolen vehicle in Camden. The violent carjacking happened near Boricua restaurant. The owner says his condolences are with the family.
Just another tragic situation, Dom. But Northern Liberties, if you encapsulate it, is a very...
That's a hot, a hippie, whatever term we're using, a hip area now, sure.
Yeah, it's like a hipster area, and a lot of young people moving there, trying to turn things around. And again, it's just another example of the situation. But sometimes these idiots trying to carjack Dom run into they meet their match. They can meet their match.
We're told the victim was pumping gas back here at Pump 3, but she ended up in a shootout with a man who police say attacked her and tried to steal her car. This BMW was what a suspect wanted, but the owner shot him twice. We are told a state prison corrections sergeant was pumping gas at North 22nd and West Allegheny around 10:30 last night when a man attacked her and tried to steal her car.
The cameras clearly showed a 35-year-old putting gas in her BMW vehicle when the male approaches her and grabs her, puts her in a bear hug from behind, and then there's a physical altercation, and they both pull weapons and they shoot each other.
Investigators say 11 shots were fired and that officers on patrol in that area of North Philadelphia heard those gunshots. They found 2 people with gunshot wounds, the 35-year-old female who was shot twice in the leg and a 22-year-old man who was shot in the lower back and leg. Medics rushed them to Temple University Hospital where they are now stable and where the man is being held as a prisoner.
Dom?
Yeah, we're hearing more and more of that, of people that are armed and are able to take this person out. And I'm assuming state correctionals officer, female now too, that's pretty good work by her. You can't be pumping gas in a lot of places in Philadelphia is what this comes down to.
Yeah. It's really, and that's the thing, is carjackings are so damn random. It can be like they don't know who they're carjacking. It's not targeted,
No, and by the way, though, Dan, we had that goofy lawyer, I don't know if he surfaced, who sued gas companies, pumping gas, it's too dangerous and all that, suing them. I don't know if we have that guy who was guarding the gas pumps over there on Clearfield either, if he's still there. But again, not a good option. Even if you're armed, you may want to have it out or something. I don't know. Jump from behind a female.
Oh, look at
I
this.
chose Wix for my business
Oh,
because of its
Hold
mass.
on. We don't want to hear about Wix, do we? No. We want to
Okay.
watch this. This is what you called for.
Still safe. Take a look. A
Yes.
security guard armed with a semi-automatic weapon. It's happening at a North Philly gas station. The owner coming up with the idea to scare off criminals. If you saw this, this is our go vote for tonight. Would you feel safer or uncomfortable? So right now the vote is 65% of you saying safer, 35% uncomfortable. So be sure to vote at fox29.com/go vote. Shawnette, you spoke with the gas station owner who says this is needed.
All right, I wonder if they have the guy at all.
In walking the
There you
property
go.
of this North Philly
Yeah,
gas
yeah,
station
yeah.
and convenience store.
This is supposed to be a city, right? And you got the kids walking around. Guns like this should be on the battlefield.
Corey Berry says she's on board with it.
If you're trying to get gas, you live in a bad area, and the only place is here, and they're getting robbed all the time. I mean, I support the owner.
Neil Patel is the manager of this Carco
Oh,
shop
yeah,
franchise
yeah.
at Broad and Clearfield.
We are tired from this all nonsense. Robbery, drug trafficking, racketings, all kind of hanging around all gangs.
He shared with
Like, if you're in that guy's shoes and you have Larry Krasner refusing to prosecute, like, I don't know, man. Back to that first topic we brought up. Do you hire security that gets rough with customers and then you become liable? It's a tough position to be in.
Well, the only thing I would say, this is a little bit different. They're not looking, as far as I know, at people doing retail theft. They were more guarding the gas pumps. You'd have to think a guy walking around with a semi-automatic, Dan, is going to, frighten off some of this. But let's say they walked in and started stealing. You're right. What would the option be of those guys? Now, they claimed they had arrest powers, but I don't know. Remember that? They're not just security guards. They had arrest powers. If they did, that's your option. If they have arrest powers, they can duke it out with them. They can do whatever they have to do to arrest them. But if they don't, then you can't do anything. And if they have arrest powers and you're hiring them, tremendous amount of money.
I pity anyone that owns a business in the city of Philadelphia right now.
But there was a time when off-duty cops were moonlighting doing stuff. But if you're an off-duty cop, you do have the ability to stop this retail theft. But if you do and you're an off-duty cop and it gets into it, if you use force, Krasner's coming after you.
Yeah. He's really created a situation here where it's a lose-lose for both business owners and police officers and security.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Dom, that's all we got for today's KRASNERLAND.
All right.
Going to wrap things there. It was a lot of fun joining you a day early today, but we'll see you tomorrow as we usually do at noon on the Dom Giordano program. Any last words before we sign off, Dom?
Arrivederci on Friday. Headed off after the show, right after the show to Newark Airport, then off to Venice. I will bring back, a lot of fun stuff, but also I'm interested. Their prime minister there is apparently a very conservative-like figure. There's a lot of stuff going on in Italy, including the wine and food. I'm being forced to have to go there for the story to sample it. That's my story.
So I'm looking at you. You look a little bit tanner than normal. Maisie, whenever we go on a vacation, because she's so fair-skinned, she goes and makes sure she kind of gets a little bit of tan. That way she's not dealing with the burn throughout the vacation. Is that what I'm seeing here with Dom Giordano, too? Are you building your tan before your vacation?
Oh, it just is a natural type of thing. Yeah. I mean, I hope it's not too red today. Ro is much tanner than I am. It's amazing. Yeah.
She is very tan.
Yeah,
All right, Dom. That's all we got. It's been a very
Yeah.
easy to prepare for a week as it usually is, but we will pray that it's much safer this week and we have a harder to prepare for show next week. But until then, we'll see you later. Noon until 3, the Dom Giordano program right here, 1210 WPHT. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.